Hey YouTube, what's up? Dr. T here, and welcome to the Altcoin Express and my hometown, St. Petersburg, Florida, where we target turning 23,000 of Ethereum into a cool million in under 5 years, trading altcoins on the Bitcoin exchange. So let's try and estimate what's going to happen in the future relative to the data we've got on hand. Now this pertains to ADA Cardano. Every coin will have its own characteristics in the local time frame. So we'll take a look at this big upside where there was a big change. Let's find its top point. This is on 15-minute moving average, and we're looking at the 25-day moving average, which is the purplish line. Now if you look at the difference between the peak and the 25-day moving average, and you take one of these lines as a measurement, then it's just over 2. It's about 2 1/4. Put it on that one. It's 2 1/4 blocks up in a rush. That's a metric. Now we'll take a look at the other upside, and now look at the time on this. 15 minutes, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Really, it just got bought back. 6 15-minute intervals, that's 90 minutes. And then the buyback, you can even kind of measure what the buyback is. So well, can take a look at its peak. Its peak got up quite a long way. So 43, what's the bottom here? 40, 43, so 9 4s are 36. So it dropped about 9%, 9 4s are 36, within that ballpark, maybe 8 4s are 32, 32 is, yeah, that's dropping about 8% there. Now let's look at the next one. Here's its bottom here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clicks to the top of the upside. Now that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the same. It depends on what kind of a run there is, but we've got a metric for a local upside as opposed to a big upside. So if we see a local upside, we know that we can sell off at a certain point and find the down point. So what's the top of this? It's hard to catch the real top, but 44. If you take 10% off, it's 40. Come back here, it doesn't quite make 40, so 9 4s 36, that's 3 and 3, so 4 1 and a bit. 4 1 and a bit. So once again, you're seeing this 8 to 9% down swing from this local buy up, as opposed to the big buy up when you're going to see a much bigger downside. So that's kind of how to kind of look at things. Look at the metric. Take a look at the bigger picture as well, and see how it's doing with respect to this 25-day moving average line. So it takes off. It's a big run up. This is on 12 hours, and it comes down to the 25-day moving average. Big run up, comes down to the 25-day moving average, and goes under it. That's a local metric because that's over days. So go back to our 15-minute. Where are we on? 15-minute thing. So it's now bought under. The sell-off, look at the sell-offs, they came well under the moving average because there's a big upside, and then this other sell-off came under the 25-day moving average, and this one's just come under the 25-day moving average. So that gives you some information. Now we can make a projection. If this kind of a run-up occurs here, with it being 2 and a bit blocks from here, where's the block? Where's the top of the block? It's here. 2 and a bit blocks. We can set our threshold for a big rise up at around relative 46. That's a metric on a rise that's similar to this. If it's a local rise, then one can estimate. Now this is doing the perfect kind of thing. Higher high and a higher low. That's the kind of thing you want to see for wandering up in a trading range. And how much did it go above this? Not much, just a little bit. So you keep this number here or somewhere proximity to it, put that down, and when you're following this up, you don't just jump on the sell-off because you've got some metrics now. You can sit here happily, watch your 15-minute clicks, see if it gets up there, and then you can make some decisions. Is it going much higher? Because it can do anything in between all of this. Like it can do somewhere in the middle of this, or it can do something just about the same as this. But let's have a look at the clicks on here, because it takes longer. Let's go from the big one up, down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, much higher. 7, 8, 9 from that kind of area, so that's not a bad 9 by 15, so that's another 45 minutes, right? 15, it's only approximate, so that's 90 and 3 15s are 45, so 5 135, so that's 135, so that's 1 hour. And 2 hours, 120, 2 hours 15 minutes. So this relatively took 2 hours and 15 minutes to kind of hit its peak, and these are taking 90-minute intervals. So there's a way to kind of look the way I'm looking at the local metric on what's going on, and I'm going to keep this going, and if it does, I'll record sell-off and put more comment on there. So coming over to Trading View, we've got some idea. The prior peak was at 4436 relative, and the big peak before that was 45190. So I like to look at things on Trading View, because I've got my own set moving averages that I kind of relate to, and I've got the moving index down here, which is another good thing. And we know that we're good for, let's put this on the 15 minutes so we can see where we are. So here's your bottom, and that's 1, 2, and we got another 15 minutes to go if it does the same thing as this. So you can sit back quite without panicking about whether it's where it's going, get some metrics and understand and follow along, and then when it's in the ballpark of doing something similar, then you've got means of making decisions. So let's watching it on here. But let's just step through the time intervals. This is 15 minutes. We've got 2 blocks, so it's good to kind of get your brain to be familiar with this. So here's the 5 minutes. We've got those blocks, all green, going up on 5 minutes. Well, there is a buyback here. There is a sell-off here, of course, but it's within the 5-minute range. 3 minutes. 3 minutes is now starting to see some local sell-offs as it moves, and plonk it on the minute. We see the real data. But if you're watching this and you see this, oh, it's selling off, but from the getting some data together like that, that this is a good thing. You want a little bit of a local sell-off because that just enables it boosting higher up the ladder, and you're getting more data as you go along, and you can make a better evaluation as to what's going to happen. If it peters out, it peters out. I mean, that's the way it goes with these things. You can't look into the future. You can only make an estimate of what will happen if something happens similar to what happens in the past. It could just go up and then have a big sell-off. But always kind of try and do this thing, get some relative data together so you are primed about when to start thinking about taking an action rather than just panically taking an action. And also you can get some information by comparing what happened before. So you can move, we're seeing a 1 up, 1 down, 1 up, 1 down, 1 up. There's a little pattern. We can go and compare with the big rise. There was a 1 down, there was a 1 down, there was a 1 up, 2 down, and then 1 down. So 2 downs is getting out there a bit, but it's nothing to get excited about. See, 3 downs, well, on 3 minutes this is. See, 3 downs, then that might be a little bit more indication of it going down. So, do that kind of thing as well, get that kind of information as you're viewing as it's moving right up its pathway. So my rebuys kind of up here around 43 relative, 43 relative, 43.6 relative. So I got a few blocks in here. I don't know how much is in there. There's more than a few grand, that's for sure. I haven't calculated it out. So we're starting to see a resistant pattern here, which wasn't previous before. This other rise here went straight up, straight down. This one went more or less straight up, straight down. And we're hearing some resistance. Green, red, green, red, green, green. A little bit of resistance there. Another thing you can play with is discounted sell-offs. So every one of these red blocks, if we assume that this is being bought up as opposed to a dump situation where people are just spazzing out, then the people who bought into this or holding it, you can consider to be part of those that will want to sell off. So for instance, here we've got a sell off, that guy bought up, they cancel out. So that person's gone, is already sold, hypothetically. And we can say, well, this guy here, take that block out, this guy here, that's about him and a bit of him, or him and, we already discounted that one, this one. So we've discounted that back. So here goes back there. Those two equate, that goes back here. So that's taken him out. So we have standing, holding, one there, one there, one there. You keep an eye on those. You know you've discounted all these already. So you can just get some metric of what green is outstanding. Gives you some perspective of who's out there with holding it, who can sell it off. Because then there are other people from above who want to get out as it goes up, which is a different matter altogether. Another thing is that you shouldn't be excited about this. I'm perfectly calm. I've got my data. I know where things are going. I know what to expect. And I'll make a carefully timed decision as to what is appropriate to do. Don't get stressed out by it. Don't get excited by it. Just be neutral. You don't want to be doing things that are in your right hemisphere where you get emotional about something. You want to be in your left hemisphere where you're calculating, getting statistics that you've worked on like this and making evaluations of what's going to happen, and if it does happen and how and where you will react. That's where you should be dealing with this stuff. And because we're on a different time frame, the former data indicated that we have a 6 by 15 minute upside. So if we're on 3 minutes, that's 5 times that. So 5 times that is 30 by 30. That means there's going to be 35-minute blocks. So you can count these off, you know, sit here and just look at it and say, so where's the bottom really? Okay, it's here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15. There's 15. 15. 15 or 30. That's 15 or 30. So on that metric, it's gone up like 1 click and a bit for half the time range. So at that rate, 2 clicks would be 43, which is nothing to get excited about. So its kind of rate of purchase right now is moderate, and as long as it's moderate, then it'll continue to kind of move along. So let's go and look at the resistance. I've got to change the lighting because it really blows my eyes up when I get off this dark screen. So let's take a look at the resistance. See how, well, it's still bright. I'm going to shut this thing down a bit. So we'll take a look at the resistance. Over here, how much resistance have we got? It's going over at a steady rate, which is quite fine. So let's convert that to that. 6 times 15 equals 3 times 5, so that's 18 blocks. 18 blocks up from the bottom. If we're on here, how are we doing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 on that red. That red's a good marker if it stays there. 11 of our 18. So we can take a look at the resistance. There's some in here. There's definitely some in here. But, you know, it's not tremendous. I mean, quite frankly, there is not a tremendous amount of resistance. This is a modest building support coming underneath it. So, at this rate, it could go for a slow, continuous burn. You know. Also, use all the data that you have on hand. So this is on Binance. It's on 5 minutes, and you can see where this got bought up, how far it is above the 7. That's a 7-day moving average. Well, we're walking up the 7-day moving average, not even above it. So that indicates that this is quite safe. I mean, it'll meet some resistance, but there isn't going to be a sell-off because there's not a big buy-up. So this will just steadily march along. It's not getting into a territory where all of a sudden there's a rush up and people are going to look to take it out. It's just going to be a continuous buy-up through the range as long as there are people. And look at the support forming under this, which tells you there's quite a lot of support. There's not a ton of resistance. So we can expect this to go on a slow climb for quite a while, I think. So let's make note that we've passed our former rise up here, which is 42504. We've just passed through that. It's having a little buyback there, but we've hit that and passed that former resistance level. So we're seeing some sell-off at that former resistance level, 425 and change. When these little monkeys have gotten out of the way, then it's open up to the next peak, which is way up here. So they're doing their little micro sell-off. See, this is what I consider to be kind of panicky. There are a whole bunch of people wanting to get out at this level because they think, oh, that's the former big up. It's going to crash down to here. So that's why all these people are wanting to get out at 425 relative, because they're these people who are kind of nervous about it coming back, and they can't use their brains because they haven't got any intelligence. But we're smarter than that. We know what's going on. So it's been a long while. There had to be a lot of buys and sells to get through the resistance level, and it's finally done it, and now it's making a surge to the upside. So we can go back to our, which is now recalibrated from the start, our 6 by 15 minute blocks, 18 by 5 minutes blocks, 30 by 3 minutes blocks, and see what happens down the road. And the two respective peaks to get through are 44362 relative and 45190, and then it's up into new territory. Yeah, I also sold a bit of junk. I found this block of IOST, which I sold for $0.46 loss. So that puts my investment in this block at $3,750. So a 10% upside is $375. That is as much as I've already made. So 10% up from here will be big bucks. So I'm calculating here. This is the bottom up to the current position, and this is my position up to, well, I'm just putting the next number up there just to get some perspective as what the percentage upside is. So some good news. The remaining amount of funds I had on Binance went to GDAX. It was available, so I transferred this lot over. There's about $5 there. I just bought it straight in, and fortunately it had done a little sell down, so that's wonderful. And so I now have 8,750 in ADA, which is, depending on the prices, will be going up at $87.50 per 1%. What about that? So today's looking like a very good day. So ADA is looking free to run, and there is plenty of resistance in the way, which is good because it won't go rocketing up, which means it'll have a steady run up. which is absolutely stunning, because we don't want to see it stopped in its tracks. You need to have continuous kind of sell-offs and resistances, so it could just merrily go ploppity 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 plop. And once again, a buy up sell-off is, you look at this one, took the number of lines there are, as I said before, it's 2 and a click lines from that purple. Take the purple here on that buy up, and we go a bit, 1, 2, 2 and a bit, it's like 2 and a quarter up. There's our base here. So where's the base go? 1, 2, and off the chart. So we're heading up to, somewhat up towards 47ville, and we're nowhere near that. So it's probably going to take a nice smooth ride up there. So looking at the math here, which is kind of amazing when you just sit watch money coming in, I am $87.5 per percent up. It is just about to rise above here. Do the math, $305 in the pocket and rising. That's just, I don't know what to say. It's amazing, just watching money come into your pocket. This is turning to quite a monumental day. Look at the Bitcoin bulls having their way, enjoying buying up their coin and moving things closer to breakout. So on the move again, and remember the magic numbers from before, 6 times 15-minute blocks, 18 times 5-minute blocks, 30 times 3-minute blocks, all the same. So we are on 15-minute blocks here, and we can start counting them off. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and we haven't really gone very far. So it looks like we're in a holding pattern here for quite a while. There's a certain level of resistance, and this will go on until it breaks it. It could be tomorrow morning, it could be any time. So I'll sign off now and get this out there. So if there's something to be learned, then you can learn it.